Good morning. It seems a bit like the European or Ukrainian making week this week. You are going to discuss Ukraine here, and you are going to discuss Ukraine in Berlin. You are going to discuss Ukraine at the summit on Thursday. What can you do here, and how important is this for Ukraine? As I see it, this week is very important for Ukraine, but also for Europe. We have an America based on Europe, which is apparently weak. And we are, if we don't act. And it is crucial that we secure some medium-term financing for Ukraine this week, so that they can stick together in their society, stand up against the Russians, and negotiate a strengthening position. And the only possibility that exists in reality is this reparation loan, which can be handled by a qualified majority. All other proposals require unanimity, and we have a few spoilers. So that is the way to go. And I am happy that, by the end of the weekend, we have created a more stable immobilization of these assets. This is a prerequisite for using them as a guarantee for a loan. Now it is crucial that a decision is made. It won't be today, but it will be when there is a meeting of the European Council later this week. Otherwise, we will leave Ukraine in a really bad place. And unfortunately, we will also be shown to the rest of the world that, in that case, there will be some support in the characteristics that the Americans, the politicians, have put on Europe. What are your views on a peace agreement and security guarantees for Ukraine? Something that is sustainable? We have not yet received any reading of a Putin who wants this peace, but a keen participant in this diplomacy and all this game over the Atlantic, which, according to our opinion, rests on a false basis. If otherwise, we can make the necessary decisions. The Russian economy is weak. The Russian losses are enormous. And it is true that Ukraine is under pressure on the slave market, but it is also with great Russian losses as a result. And therefore, it is crucial that we, in this critical phase, after having supported Ukraine uniformly for a very long time, not suddenly start shaking hands, but ensure that Ukraine gets funding, both to keep their society running, but also their resistance intact. So it is a time of creation for Ukraine, but also for Europe. Is it also a week where Europe can show the Americans that Europe is strong and not weak, as Trump characterizes Europe as? I think it is a week where we cannot hide the truth. Either we show a strong hand. We have all the possibilities for that. Before we met again, we made this decision that ensures a more stable immobilization of Russian assets, so that it is not every 6th month that you have to settle for this. And it is to ensure that you can give a long-term loan with guarantee in it. Now we just need the last decision. That can be done. And if we make it, we put Ukraine in a good place. And we also show the world that Europe is a strong geopolitical player. But the key to it, if we do not make these decisions, is also to show that we are not as strong as I think we should be. So it is in every way a week of creation, not just for Ukraine, but also for Europe. Will you make this decision with a qualified majority, if necessary, to run over Belgium despite the opposition we have, and despite the fact that the money is in the hands of Belgium? To make a decision with a qualified majority is not the same as to run over Belgium. But we have some countries that have said openly that they do not want to be part of these solutions. This applies to Hungary. This applies to Slovakia. And what we have to get rid of. Then it is clear that Belgium is in a special situation. This is where the resources are frozen. And therefore it is also important that we stretch far in order to give the Belgians the security they need. This we are also fully committed to. But it goes without saying that solutions that are based on unanimity, unfortunately, do not allow themselves to be done. And therefore, it is our assessment, and as a foreman's country, that the only way forward is to find a solution with a reduction in the frozen Russian assets. And it can be done. And an important step has been taken before the weekend by the fact that we no longer have jurisdiction over these resources. It has become more stable. And therefore, there is an important precaution that has taken place. But there is the last difficult decision. We cannot make it today. It must be met at the state and government level later this week. But it must also be met there, because it gives the impression that we are giving Ukraine a strong position. It also gives the impression that Europe can show the world here under the White House that Europe is someone you cannot do without. I have made it very clear here how we look at this case, and it does not get any better than I am repeating it. It is a matter of course for Europe, and a decision must be made. It also means on other fronts an important week for Europe. We have a Mercosur agreement that is ready, which I hope that the President of the Commission can take to Brazil and sign on Saturday. We also demand that it be put in place. There are some things in the Parliament. I think that is sensible. We are working hard to get the trilateral negotiations completed so that there is a foundation for Europe to be able to decide on this agreement that has been underway for 25 years, and in a situation where our friends in the USA do not want to have the same trade relations with us as they have had before, then we have to look for new markets. And here is an open window. And if we do not try to break out of it, then we leave that part of the world to others, and in this case, the Chinese. So here, too, there is a need for Europe to play a role. If he is ready to compromise on the NATO question, I will not be the one standing up for that. But of course, it goes without saying that if NATO is not the solution, then we need other kinds of security guarantees exactly as strong as an Article 5 guarantee. The most important thing on our agenda today is to ensure that we can finance Ukraine in a midterm perspective. I think it's crunch time for Europe and Ukraine. We have been discussing this for quite a while. In the lead-up to last weekend, we took a very important decision about stabilizing the mobilization of the Russian assets. It's a precondition for the next step, which is a reparation loan. And we must take that decision within the end of this week to secure that Ukraine is in a position to continue its freedom fight, but also to uphold the whole society, but also in order to show the rest of the world that Europe is a strong player. Otherwise, we will give in to the impression pictured or painted by the American president that Europe is weak. Thank you. What are you expecting from the talks in Berlin today? I mean, these are the leaders of Europe that are going there. What are you expecting? And, I mean, actually, can there be security guarantees from the EU that are equally high as the NATO securities? Well, from a Danish perspective, we would have preferred a Ukrainian NATO membership. But if President Zelensky is ready to give up on that in order to compromise, I think we should accommodate that. And then we have to ensure, other kinds of guarantees exactly as strong as in Article 5. And I can only talk on behalf of Denmark. We are ready to participate. I think on today's agenda, the most important thing is to continue the discussion about how to finance Ukraine in a mid-term perspective in order to give them a position of strength and in order to secure that they can uphold their own society. We took a very important decision in the lead-up to the weekend by stabilizing the immobilization of the Russian asset. And before the end of this week, we need to take the final step. I would say it's crunch time for Europe and Ukraine. We need to take this decision in order to secure the Ukrainian economy, but also in order to send a signal to the rest of the world, which will include the White House in D.C., that Europe is a strong geopolitical player. If we don't do that, we will give in on the new picture painted by him, that Europe is weak. Thank you.